Thank the Lord and everything that is holy for, first of all, Daddy Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. I hope they beat the piss out of each other forevermore on Monday Night Raw. Another fantastic match. I never thought I'd say this, but thank you to all that's holy for Riddle and SLAPJACK. They had a fun match, and those two things I've just mentioned there, Sheamus and Daddy Drew McIntyre, Riddle and SLAPJACK, they saved last night's Raw from being a complete disaster. It was just so boring, from all the recaps to stuff that happened in previous weeks, the countless amount of WrestleMania adverts. Yes, I know they need to get word out there. The tickets are on sale soon. I think I didn't even read the adverts, to be honest with you. But bloody hell, I felt like I saw the same thing about 50,000 times every single turn I took while watching last night's Raw, a WrestleMania advert that started with finally ... It was there to be seen. And then Shane McMahon, Colonel McSweaty Bollocks himself, he took things to a different level this week, a level I will discuss later in this video. That there is a ball tickler. By the way, SmackDown WTF Moments for the episode of SmackDown that took place on March the 5th, they went live on this YouTube channel today. They're down over there somewhere. That's right, isn't it? I've got no idea. But I am Ross 12 from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are all your WTF moments from last night's Raw. Intro, man. Play a recap from last week or something. And so we're kicking things off with something that's a bit orcs, a bit awkward turtle, shaky palm tree. As people who watch these SmackDown WTF moments on this YouTube channel will know, I've been making countless WTF moments at the Street Profits' expense. And that's because on Friday Night SmackDown, the Street Profits have been saying to the Dirty Dogs, "Hey Dirty Dogs, stop duck, dip, diving and dodging us. Give us a tag team championship rematch. Stop being massive softies, will you?" But of course, I've been saying, why have Tez and Montez both been saying this? Automatic rematch clauses for championships in WWE, they were officially scrapped a long time ago. Well, between that on Friday Night SmackDown and that thing there that kicked off last night's Raw just about, it looks like the automatic rematch clause in WWE has unofficially been reinstated. What the fudgelicious? I'm just asking the question, everybody. Why hasn't a big song and dance been made about quite an important thing like automatic rematch clauses in WWE? Imagine if that Tory prick Boris Johnson was like, "Well, we're going to have to put the country back into lockdown," and then a long time passes, then we see Boris Johnson down at Spoons, and a news reporter says to Boris Johnson, "Hey Boris, you Tory prick, what are you doing in the pub? They're shut, it's lockdown." And he replies to the journalist, "Well, lockdown's over, I didn't think I needed to tell anybody." A very different example I've used there, but you know what I'm saying. WWE, tell us if things have changed, man. Dun 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 dun. Kevin, quite frankly, it says two-time WWE champion up there. Why does it not say two-time Grand Slam champion? The fact that it doesn't say two-time Kevin would imply to thick people like me that The Miz is only a one-time Grand Slam champion when you see a two just above it there in a different stat. And by the way, two is twice as good as one, so why are you not making Miz look twice as good as he actually is there? A valid point I'm bringing up here. It's not inconsequential whatsoever. And next up we have The Miz claiming that last week's shenanigans on Monday Night Raw, they were unfair. And you know what? He's got a point, so he has. As he mentioned at the start of last night's Raw, champion's advantage is a thing when it comes to championship matches in WWE. But because Shane McMahon, the world's best professional wrestler, didn't get the outcome he wanted in that initial WWE Championship match, he did it again just so he got what he wanted. Shane McMahon must have what Shane McMahon wants. And I'm only making this a WTF moment because the old man yelling at cloud inside of me, the wrestling traditionalist inside of me, is saying that a professional wrestling heel should never be able to make a valid point that us watching fans can agree with. But The Miz did at the start of last night's Raw, so old man yelling at cloud as I look directly into those bright lights. Jesus Christ, my eyes have gone weird. That old man is saying WTF. As much as I love Bobby Lashley as WWE champion, and by the way, that new entrance he's got, absolutely fantastic, final boss kind of stuff on Monday Night Raw. Nobody will ever defeat the Almighty. As much as I love Bobby Lashley as the champion on Raw these days, The Miz saw the rules, he applied the rules, and he didn't break any rules, but he was punished nonetheless. And I know it's R-Truth, and we should be expecting utter bollocks from R-Truth because that's what he does best, better than anybody in the world of professional wrestling today, but still, I have got not but a Scooby-Doo what went on in that segment there, so if you know, quite frankly, let me know down there, will you? I'm lost. But we've got to make a WTF moment out of a line Braun Strowman said during that segment with R-Truth when he said, "I'm Braun Strowman, I don't ask for permission from anybody." But of course I am the same Braun Strowman who stood there on last week's Raw in the midst of a Raw Tag Team title match, and I took orders from Shane McMahon even though I openly said during that same episode of Raw that Shane McMahon is trying to screw me. Not in the bedroom. Could you imagine that carnage? Sorry, Shane, would you mind if I just ended this professional wrestling matchup? Oh no, you do have an issue with that, Shane? Oh, let me tag in Adam Pearce, even though I know it's going to go tits up. Braun Strowman today is a massive idiot. Pass it on. You pick Adam Pearce as my partner, boo. Braun, you're the monster among men, supposedly. You should be able to eat the Hurt Business all by yourself without breaking sweats, man. What happened to me voice there? Shane, you made me tag in Adam Pearce. Braun, you're the monster among men, supposedly. You should be able to not only eat the Hurt Business in one big massive bowl, but also eat Colonel McSweaty Bollocks while you're doing so, man. You shouldn't be taking orders from Shane McMahon, who, by the way, didn't make you do anything. Seriously, how did Shane force Braun to do anything on last week's show? But then Braun said, and I quote, "There's an old expression, you're either laughing with me or you're laughing at me." And this has to be a WTF moment because I was thinking Braun Strowman didn't know what old expressions actually were. It was just a little while ago, wasn't it? Braun was in the middle of the ring on Monday Night Raw. What do you mean last but not least? I can't be last. I'm Braun Strowman. I always come first. That's an expression too, Braun. A really old one. Everyone's heard of it, man. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. Vince McMahon likes big and sweaty men. Hang on, stop. Hang on a second, everybody. I cannot do that when Shane McMahon's involved. Vince McMahon does not like Shane McMahon like that. That would just be wrong. And that camera shot right there must be the WWE cameraman equivalent to a danger wank. This job. Will they get back in the ring or won't they get back in the ring? Let's just take a chance here and flaunt with utter disaster and danger just in the name of getting the best camera shot possible. But it's different, isn't it? I don't think I've ever seen a camera shot like that on Monday Night Raw, therefore WTF. And hang on a second there, Tom Phillips, and your face fornicating ways while you're doing the commentary on Monday Night Raw. You say you want to turn your attentions to the Randy Orton versus The Fiend rivalry. That ended 3 months ago when Randy Orton murdered The Fiend. We haven't seen The Fiend on TV at all this year, have we? Unless we have, we might have done. My memory is completely shot, I'm very sorry. And I know the buzzword, especially in the first hour of this week's Raw, was presumptive. Drew McIntyre is the presumptive challenger for Bobby Lashley's WWE title. Did you know that, by the way? They did say it like 50 million times, just in case you missed it. But you're being very presumptuous there, Tom Phillips, believing that The Fiend is alive and well, and therefore the Randy Orton versus The Fiend feud is also alive and well. So presumptuous, I tell you. And of course I know he's alive and well. I know we're going to WrestleMania 37 where Randy Orton will take on The Fiend in some kind of fiery death match thing. Whoa! Extreme things will happen on the grandest stage of them all. Point at the sign at WrestleMania. I simply do these WTF moments within the realms of kayfabe and storytelling on Monday Night Raw. In terms of kayfabe and the story we've been told, we don't know The Fiend's alive, even if Alexa Bliss does say he's coming back soon. Just like that. And then we have a direct quote from Randall Keith to AJ Styles when he says, "AJ, are you telling me there's something funny about a grown man having his mind messed with?" And in the words of Michael Scott, Randy Orton, you cheeky little chaffinch. How the turntables, Randy. How the turntables. You hypocrite. Right then, so now we get on to the highlight of the night, and of course the highlight of every single night he's involved in is the best professional wrestler in the world today. Everybody's favourite, it's Shane McMahon, Mr. Colonel McSweaty Bollocks himself. Let's go and speak about some great things. As we all know, since he returned to Monday Night Raw very recently, Shane McMahon, for some reason, has been treated as a proper babyface inside the Thunderdome. Despite some of 2017, all of 2018, most of 2019 and Raw Underground last year, for some reason, the powers that be inside of the Thunderdome believed that Shane McMahon would be cheered louder than any other WWE superstar if real human beings were inside wrestling events today. Now, as long-time viewers of WTF Moments here on the Cultaholic Wrestling YouTube channel will know, I've been questioning this creative decision, I'll get it out there eventually, by the powers that be on Monday Night Raw, because Shane McMahon, he rocked up to this week's Raw and he did this.
Seriously, I hope he's okay.
But then he said to Braun Strowman, like any good professional wrestling heel would, which Shane McMahon has been all along, Thunderdome, what's wrong with you, man? I like having a laugh at other people's expense, just as long as it benefits me, Shane McMahon. Thunderdome, people! Why has Shane McMahon been cheered like the biggest babyface we've seen since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the babyface assassin? And then Shane McMahon forgot his lines for a really uncomfortable period of time, and he did this. Into his microphone for ages. Seriously, I hope that Shane McMahon's okay. That breathing, it's worrying, isn't it? Forget about me not liking his character. I hope that Shane McMahon, the man, is okay. It was uncomfortable to see. But yes, what the hell was that segment all about? I've seen news reports this morning saying that apparently this was Shane McMahon supposed to be like obnoxious and annoying and taking up too much time on WWE TV. I would argue back to those news reports from the news, which means it's absolutely true all of the time. Anytime Shane McMahon appears on WWE TV these days, it's too much Shane McMahon on too much WWE. I honestly don't know what to say. I don't know what to say in reaction to what we saw on last night's Raw. What I do know, though, is that Shane McMahon was calling Braun Strowman stupid without actually saying Braun Strowman is stupid. Sorry, Shane. Let me get it right. Boom. That's what he did. It was funny. But at least something productive came from that segment last night, because it all ended with Shane McMahon faking him driving away in a car. He comes back around the corner. Braun Strowman's walked away because he thinks Shane McMahon's outside the building, and Shane McMahon does that, and we hear boos. Yes! Finally! Why is it taking so long for the people inside of the Thunderdome to realise that Shane McMahon is a proper diddler in the Cultaholic Wrestling podcast sense of the word? He never turned babyface, man. He lost that match to Kevin Owens on SmackDown on Fox. He went away. We saw Raw Underground where he had Omos and he was doing some things. Aren't we tough in the Underground? And then he came back to Monday Night Raw. When did he turn babyface? But thankfully, we're back on track now. Shane McMahon is a dick. And as we all know in WWE especially, card is subject to change, eh? Canadian now. But we know for a fact that Shania versus Bianca and Sasha has been made official for some reason for Fastlane 2021 next weekend. So you've got that in one hand, and then the tag team title match we saw on last week's Raw, which has been built up to for several weeks now. For several weeks, Lana and Naomi have been owed a tag team title match. Why I'm milking a cow, doing the ride back, I've got no idea. So finally we see this much anticipated, I nearly laughed saying that, but still, this built-to tag team title match on last week's Raw. We know that Fastlane is coming up next weekend, yet this tag team title match on last night's Raw, it had no build whatsoever. Poof, and it was there. What about the Fastlane implications this tag team title match had on last night's Raw, which I can just hear Tom Phillips saying inside of my head, even though Tom Phillips, I don't think, said it once on last night's Raw. I mean, I don't want to stand here and say the women's tag team titles are an afterthought in WWE, but they are. A Randy Orton golden shower, you love to see it. And now it's time for what might just be the most dangerous bit in the 5 and a bit year history of WTF Moments here on Wrestling YouTube. And that's because Alexa Bliss and The Fiend, you've done it now. You've gone and made a big mistake, because gimmick infringement Kane, he will set you both on fire. Whew, that was a bit hot, wasn't it, everybody? But gimmick infringement Kane, he wants to kill Alexa Bliss and The Fiend for taking his pyro. Who takes Kane's pyro? But I think we should end these WTF moments for last night's Raw with a message for Randall, Keith, Orton, Randy, just in case you're watching this, which of course you're not. Maybe think about taking out a restraining order for Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. It's going a bit too far now, isn't it, Bonnie lad? But that's it. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic Wrestling. Just remember, if you missed the SmackDown video for last week's SmackDown, it's on the channel today. It is live right now. So go and watch that now if you missed it. If you don't want to see it, fair enough. Not many people do these days. WTF Moments is dying. But anyway, I'll see you next time nonetheless.